Welcome to another episode of the Aligned and Elevated podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Allison Feldt, owner of Body Motion Physical Therapy, AF Wellness Coaching, and your just general lover of life. I am recording this episode in my absolutely beautiful backyard. And I got in last night from New Jersey, where I was there to teach all about cash energetics and energy. And I'm definitely not an energetic guru, but really just taught about my journey and how I infused energy into my journey. It's a constant work in progress. Like I said, I'm no freaking guru at all, but it's fun to know what I've learned, and it was cool to teach other entrepreneurs. I think it was well received. It doesn't really matter how it was received. Of course, like I want people to value it and like feel like it was, gave them something and they could take something away from the talk. But at the end of the day, I got so much out of it. I got serious fulfillment flying across the country to go talk about energetics and cash energy. It's something I feel like has been missing constantly from business coaching. And so the fact that my friend, he owns this amazing business coaching group. His name is Justin Rabinowitz. He owns Rehab Cairo. And I speak for his group about once a quarter. And they are all like super empathetic, well-intended doctors of chiropractic medicine. Some are physical therapists actually, and they want what's best for their patients. And how he teaches is so seriously genuine that it's just pretty cool. He's super articulate. He's super process based and driven. So like people can have processes that help make their systems better, that allow them to help more patients and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, him helping these entrepreneurs and healthcare workers who are like literally at the top of their game. They're doing really cool stuff with patients, helping people live like these amazing lives. Him teaching them how to run their businesses literally changes how many people feel good in their bodies in the world and go on to do magnificent things, right? If you've heard my messaging across the board, you know that like the better you feel in your body, the better you can contribute to this world and make this world a better place. And I hands down believe that. So anyways, just got back from that last night. It was super fulfilling for me. Great change of pace. I put a lot of work into creating that talk because it was abstract. It was nothing I ever talked about before. So I thought I would honestly do a podcast about it and just talk a little bit about it. I've talked about it on our AF Wellness coaching calls. And so I figured let's pop on, let's talk a little bit about energy, a little bit about cash energetics and prosperity, because a lot of people, let's face it, they want to be rich, they want to be wealthy. And so let's talk about it, right? It's fun to talk about these kind of things. So here we go. I'm going to dive into it. And just like fair warning, I'm in the backyard and I had a neighbor who their landscape crew was here. And literally I came out here to start recording and they start blowing the yard. And so who knows where this is going to go. If you're watching on YouTube, it's like the recording's taking place in the backyard, but like at any point this could switch, right? So here we go. We're starting in the backyard in this magnificent, beautiful Seattle day, which is not always typical for June. And yeah, just living the good life. So I show up to this event and it's my friend is talking about wealth and money. And one of my favorite books, and I'm sure I've talked about it on the podcast in the past year, is called The Wealth Money Can't Buy by Robin Sharma. Everything Robin Sharma does and puts out, I sign up. I'm there. I read his books. If you hear that, now you're hearing the chickens go off. I just fed them, so they're just singing their songs. So here we are. You're going to get a little chicken action in the background, and that's all right. So Robin Sharma talks about the 8 forms of wealth. And money being one of them, so cash being one of them. But there's so many facets of wealth. And one of the things that Justin pulled out, not just from Robin Sharma's work, but from doing his own self-pursuit and self-work, is he figured, like he said, like, you are wealthy when you have enough. You're wealthy when you already have enough and you don't need more. That is wealth. So it's the state of being. You could literally have nothing in your bank account, a very modest life. But if you feel like you have enough, that is an absolute epic form of wealth. And it was a beautiful way he put it. He wrote a letter to his children, and it was, I wish you could have been there because it was really, really well done when he spoke about that. Another aspect of of truly wealthy people is like they're just going to do it anyways. Like they do things not for the necessarily monetary reason, but because they're passionate about it, because they love it. And of course, like when you're passionate and you pursue something and you're feeling really good about it, typically you are bringing value to a marketplace. Typically there's a reward and a number attached to that when you bring value to your marketplace. Usually people are getting paid for their time. So it's definitely like, yes, it's a form of wealth that doesn't require money, but when you contribute your passions to the world, like oftentimes it repays you tenfold. And so this has just been my journey. So then I come up, so he talks about that on Saturday. I come up on Sunday and I do a talk that I coined called Paycology. So Paycology came about, the name of this talk, because Justin and I were texting back and forth all about wealth, all about generating cash. And I told him my history. I was like, I have worked with this cash energetics coach to help me rewrite my money blueprint that I had in my brain with about cash. Like cash wasn't a bad thing. Cash was a good thing. What happens, how we form our relationship to money and our understanding of money and wealth, we form that based on what our parents have passed down to us. Most parents pass down their stories of money and money wounds, and they don't pass down inheritance of wealth, right? Let's just be real here. Most people don't get to inherit billions and trillions and millions even of dollars. They don't. And so when they're inheriting things, it's usually these old money stories that if they're negative and they're, your family didn't come from a well-to-do place, or they, prescribe to kind of a poor, less abundant scarcity mindset around cash, around money, it makes it really hard to attract that yourself. And even if you kind of change it and you get good at attracting it, you might not be good at holding it, retaining it, admiring it. And so you want to acknowledge your money stories, your money wound stories. So I gave a really personal example at the talk, and I talked about, my parents, we shopped at Kmart. My parents drove old cars. We weren't poor by any means, but they had a poor mindset. They believed that they weren't well-to-do. They were really just like middle class. And my mom always said we were rich at heart, right? Like that was kind of her philosophy. We're rich at heart, which was beautiful. Like, of course, one form of wealth. But the reality was how they talked about money is like they spent all their money on our sports, which is beautiful. And like I loved our live. And so they spent all their money on our sports. And I always remember them saying like, we'll never be able to retire because we've just spent all our money on you guys' hockey. And it's like, okay, well, great. Thank you for that, because my brothers and I went on to play college hockey. We've had really good lives. I think it taught us amazing values. So money well invested, right? Hockey is definitely part of our ancestral blueprint. But the fact is like we had a lot of scarcity around that. Like my brothers and I shopped at Value Village a lot of the time, and our friends were shopping at Abercrombie, right? Or Gap. And I occasionally got a pair of Gap clothes. I definitely remember like these velour overalls I wanted so bad from Gap. And they were black, like velvet velour, whatever they were, overalls. Oh, I wanted those so bad. And I got them. And that was like such a cool purchase for me. And so, but the reality is like that wasn't always the case. One time I got to get something new, and it was a bra. My mom was taking me bra shopping for the first time. And I was like, yes, I don't have to get my bra used at Value Village. This feels really, really good. I get to go get a brand new bra. And my mom took me to Kmart. And Kmart is like, if you don't have one, it was like this big department store. I think they're all shut down by now. And there might be some left on the East Coast that are named something different. But they were this big department store. And it was kind of in a really not good area. For us, it was like Highway 99, kind of right where all like the strippers hang out, and just was not a great area. And so we are going to Kmart, and I go and like try my bra on, and I am in this dressing room already uncomfortable because we're like bra shopping, and my mom loves to talk about like your body's changing, and as a kid you're just like, oh, that feels so gross, like don't talk to me about that. But so we get this bra. It's like blue lace. I totally remember it. And all of a sudden a crow flies in my dressing room, and I am trapped in the dressing room with a freaking crow. And honestly, I was like, back to Value Village, like not coming to Kmart again. But no, for real, like it was that moment that I was like, okay, like this is just what we do as like poor people, right? So, and then like carry on, and we used to go camping with this friend's family because that's how we vacationed. And this friend, my dad ends up having an affair with this friend's mom. And maybe that's not a fair statement. And if he listens to this, he wouldn't call it an affair. I don't fucking know. But he ends up marrying the lady he has relations with that break my parents apart. So call it whatever you want to call it. So he goes and he has this affair with this woman, and honestly, like terrible, right? Like one of the worst days of our lives. And not days, but like seasons, right? Like at least we perceived it as that then. But what ends up happening is that this woman that he ends up marrying, she has a complete and utter wealth mindset. So she's kind of like this money magnet. So it was fascinating because all of a sudden I was like, okay, now all the stories that I've been programmed to believe about money and like it's hard to get, you got to be frugal, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe those were just beliefs and not like actual truths, right? And so when I started to evaluate that and have those beliefs and what I thought were truths kind of be shattered, I was like, holy cow, okay. So she just has all this money, but like her and my dad do the same thing. So what's amiss here? And granted, her kids didn't play hockey, so I get that. But like, there was just a different air around money. She had an amazing ability to attract money. Now, might be a self-proclaimed drug addict. There might have a lot of self-proclaimed addict issues, alcoholism, all that good stuff. Even when I was a kid, I remember I was their first employee going around town getting her Percocets and picking them up for her. And I digress. But what I learned from her and what was so, I think, in the best lesson I could have gained was the fact that she had this amazing ability to generate wealth. She had a wealth mindset, and it was my first look into that. Now, we had aunts and uncles and cousins that were a lot wealthier than us, and, kind of also had that mindset, but I wasn't around them enough, and I didn't really realize that. So once my dad married her and we started getting like fancy face washes, we started getting nice things. My dad started driving nice cars. He started getting new cars every few years. And then they go on to build this multi-million-dollar business and have like a pretty nice financial life anyways. End up getting divorced, and it's a hot fucking mess at the end. But regardless, many beautiful lessons to be learned as they go. And so this was like my first look into like wealth and being like, oh, okay, you can shop at Nordstrom's. And so that was really cool. Okay, so fast forward, I go on to PT school, accumulate nearly $200,000 in debt. And I'm like, there's no real way for me to get out of this unless I go and start my own business. So I, have Chloe. And then right after Kano, I open the business, and I'm like, this is really the only shot I have at like having 2 children in daycare and be able to pay down my debt. And no other job could really support what I needed to support and live in the area I wanted to live. And so Dylan was like, you gotta, open your own business. And I was like, okay, I had always wanted to, but it was always super scary, right? It's like scary to do new things. Now I love doing scary shit because I know the fulfillment on the other side of it. I literally asked Justin to go talk at this event because I knew it would put me out of my comfort zone because it was something I haven't talked publicly about. And now look, here I'm putting it out on the podcast, the whole drama and everything, right? And so now you get it all. And so, yeah, start the business, and I'm like, okay, I guess I knew I could help people. I knew I had like, I don't mean to sound egotistical, but like Body Motion was born by the amazing skills that I had gained by having amazing mentors. And I was then able to take like everything each mentor has taught me and really put together a beautiful philosophy in how body motion has evolved and how we treat everyone. And so we have like this huge density called body motion protocols. We have birth prep, pregnancy, fertility, postpartum, menopause. And really, it's just like generally, what do you need to be optimized at every stage of the game so you can have an amazing delivery, so you can get pregnant naturally, so you can recover postpartum and then thrive through midlife and then avoid the depends in nursing homes and joint replacements as you get older. So we've put together these amazing protocols that support all of that and like that literally revise your vitality, re-energize your body. And so okay, that was a side note, obviously, but I had to get that in there. I always have to say that, right? Because that's where all of this was born. It was with the intention of making and helping women live their ultimate best lives so they can contribute to the world and be the best absolute version of themselves. And when that happens and women's perspectives are heard and their voices are heard, the world is such a better place, right? It's just an act of service. It doesn't matter if they're making the world a better place by raising really good humans or making a world a better place because they have a big tech job at Amazon, Microsoft, or Facebook, right? Doesn't matter. So when I started developing like these protocols, like we got good fast, we got busy fast, and I had to learn to hire, I had to learn to train people. And so I was reinvesting in the business, which was scary at first. My first couple hires were absolutely scary. Can I afford this? Can I do this? Then we're making money. And again, the fear was just always there and like, it's kind of increasing. COVID hits and the fear just exemplifies. How am I going to stay in business, pay all these people, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, I'm just, end up coming out of it okay and doing really well actually. But we, in the whole time, it's like there's always this fear at the first of the month, starting over. Baseline is this what we need to make, and yada, 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 so on, right? And so go on, and I'm like, I'm making this money, but my bank account at the end of the year is the same as the beginning of the year. And yes, I am saving and reinvesting into the business, but I can't understand where the profit's going. The books are saying I have profit and I don't freaking see it. I don't know where it is, right? And I think that's really common with a lot of business owners. And so the reality is I'm making money, but I'm spending money. And that's the flow of cash energy, and that's okay. But what I had to realize is like, how can I get comfortable making money and holding on to it? How can I get comfortable spending it and investing in it? One of the most beautiful things Robin Sharma says is like, you have to increase your deservability to understand that you are deserving of wealth. You're deserving of, good things. And I really had to do that. I had to increase my deservability. And a couple ways he says to do that. This is a beautiful lesson out of chapter 5 of his book, The Wealth Money Can't Buy. The beautiful lesson that he teaches is treat yourself like visiting royalty. That's literally the words he uses. Treat yourself like visiting royalty. Buy yourself the nice things. Splurge on a cup of tea. He says cup of tea. I would say coffee at, some bougie restaurant or some bougie cafe. Like, don't be afraid to book yourself a trip to Paris. Go. And then the other like part of this is like, go be around wealthy people so you can hear the conversations wealthy people are having, so you can be around that. And that is then normalized into your brain, and you're learning from these people who have more wealth, open-minded ideas. And there's a book that's called Millionaire Mind. And that is a great book as well to go learn about money and mindset around money. And one of the mantras is like, I have a millionaire mind. At the end of the book, you repeat to your mind, you repeat every chapter. And at the end of every chapter, you repeat in your brain, I have a millionaire mind. I have a millionaire mind. And part of being around that kind of wealth and increasing your deservability is to convince your brain that you have a millionaire mind. And, you're deserving of all the wealth in the world, all the cash in the world. And so that's pretty cool. So I go on, so I'm, this is the lecture essentially that I gave everybody there. And I go on to talk about energy. And so I give the definitions of energy, of course, from like a physics perspective. We have potential energy, kinetic energy, nuclear energy. You have all the forms of energy. And then there's like somatic energy and physiologic energy. So that's like at the cellular process. And then there's some other forms and like behavioral forms of energy. Metaphysics energy is like chi. Behavioral energy is like I'm high vibe or low vibe. And then you have what I talked about was like cash energy and wealth energetics. And so I used to work with this coach, and she taught cash energetics, and it was absolutely epically beautiful. And I loved her group. And if she was still in business, I'd probably be working with her still. And so she really opened my mind to teaching me about energy, and that all energy is created from within, and that you have these little cells, trillions of cells buzzing around in your body that are bumping off each other, and that's energy, right? That's energy in motion. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. However, energy is coming from within your cells. So infuse the shit out of that energy. Put whatever energy you want in it. Put love energy in it. Put adoration energy. Literally, can you think about something that you love so dearly. I'll think about my little baby Jayla. Like, I was just holding her this morning. Our hearts were connected. Sometimes when I hug her and hold her, I imagine like our hearts beating together. Something I learned from a man named Anil. And honestly, when I was on my weight loss journey, I kept being like, I can't wait for our hearts to get closer. And it was just like this energetic beating of our hearts. And like, when I think about holding her and loving her and kissing her and what she smells like, even though she smelled like piss this morning, which was nasty as heck, and I had to get her in the shower, but she probably did not bathe when I was gone. But anyways, I digress. She still just is so sweet, right? And like still like beautiful little smells when she's clean, and just like the touch of her skin, and like that generates for me like adoration energy, like true love energy. And so if I can infuse that in my cells, I'm just operating at a different level. And then can I infuse that love and then also infuse cash energy? When you feel really rich, when you feel like you just have enough, you have it all. And then, but like actually to generate the cash, like think about the cash. How much cash do you want? You want 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 1 billion? And you have to like start to visualize this. Stacks of hundreds that create 1,000. Can you touch it? Can you start to feel what real cash feels like? And then be grateful as heck for that cash. When you have this ability to visualize it and be grateful for it and feel like cash is abundant, you have a really good ability to generate it. And not just generate it, but like, and when you generate it and you get the cash in your bank account, even if like you don't have a business and you get paid every Friday, it's like, or every other Friday, or your husband gets paid every other Friday or once a month, and you have certain cash that's coming to you, it's like, just bless that cash. Thank you so much for this cash, where this cash came from. I'm just grateful for this cash. When you go and pay for your coffee, you're like equally as happy that that cash is leaving, because when it flows out, you can just ask the universe with very clear words. I'm paying for my $7.50 latte. This isn't a latte, it's an Americano with 1 scoop of sugar-free white mocha and a little bit of cinnamon powder. Okay, that's my splurge once a day, usually, and then it's just back to decaf Americanos, black. So I get 1 of the sugar-frees a day, in case you were curious. So when I'm getting my coffee, I'm literally like, thank you so much. Thank you to the barista who made it. Like, this money is going to feed her kiddos. Like, I'm blessing the money as it leaves my hands, as it leaves my account. And like, literally, like, I know this might sound silly, but like from a visualization standpoint, you can imagine like cash energy, like dollar bills in your cells, just like leaving the hands. Okay. It's just an energetic tool. You use your visualization, you use meditation to generate ideas around generating cash, spending cash, luxury. You're creating it in your mind's eye. Now, it's really hard to have this level of play and creativity when you feel like shit. And actually, I'll digress a little. Like, going into this talk, I've just been having a really hard time, in full on transparency. I'm defining it as a hard time. I know it's going to be absolutely beautiful time, because my life will be amazing on the other side of this. And it already is improving. And so I was like, how am I going to go give this pure, magical, aligned talk when I've just had like kind of the worst month that I've ever had emotionally in the last probably 4 years or 5 years. And that was like, that felt fucked all week. And I'm like, how am I going to get through this? How am I going to get through this? Flying in on Friday morning and then getting there by like, my flight was delayed. So getting there by 3 and like really deeply resting. I worked a little bit on the plane, but like, I just couldn't quite like my flow. The amount of time it took me to write this lecture, this keynote speech, or this session, or whatever you want to call it, this teaching, the amount of time it took me was probably, I don't know, probably 30 plus hours. So I had to freaking do a podcast on it, make the content work, right, for us. Um, it was a lot of freaking time. And it was because I couldn't get in flow. It's because I was energetically, I was not freaking aligned. I was all over the place. I had moments where I could vibe high and like feel good, but like most of it was emotional and like low grade shit, bullshit, and emotion and fear. And it was like I was just having such a hard time coming above that and rising above that. And I want to say that like situationally, it was like I was controlling everything I could control in this situation, and it's kind of needs to be done. And so it's just one of those times in life where like shit ain't easy and you just got to go through it, and you get to define how you're defining it. And yeah, I'm calling it actually fucking hard as shit. And I wish it was easy for me, but I'm calling it hard because the beauty on the other side of that hard, persevering through this fucking hard, is going to be absolutely epic. And so one day maybe I'll talk about it, but not today. And so it took me a while to get aligned to be able to write this message, is what I'm saying. And that was because my energy wasn't where it needed to be. So if you have like fatigue, if you have joint pain, if you are hurting in your body, like you have to get that shit fixed first. And like that's where body motion comes in, right? Like body motion is there to make sure that you are operating on all freaking cylinders. So you don't have sciatica, you don't have low back pain, SI joint pain. You can do whatever you want, and your energy can then come up and rise up, and you get your energy back. And then you stay on the membership at Body Motion, so you feel really good, and you can continue to vibe at that really good level. And then you go and create a magnificent shit, and that all feels really good. So what I'm telling you is I was not vibing high, even though I was still going to Body Motion, but like it was just like situationally things in my life. And so it just took a long time to write this lecture. Once I got through this lecture, I started to feel okay with it, and like really worked the words for a long time that I was going to say, because words matter. How you speak matters, and the words that you choose to define activity matter. So one of the examples I used on during the lecture was like, people like always ask me like, oh, you've been on this weight loss journey. It must be so hard. You're so disciplined. And I told them, like, I was like, no, I determined that this was going to be so easy. I was driving in my car one day and I was like going in full on abundance mode. It was pouring rain, and like my brain wanted to be like, it was a gray, rainy day. We hadn't seen the sun in a few days. I was just feeling like I need to go on a vacation to Arizona, and I knew I wanted to change my body. And I'm driving on the highway. I'm driving on 212 and 99 in Linwood. And I'm sitting there at the stoplight, and I'm like, just go abundant. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, the rain is just falling on my windshield wiper. There are so many drops of rain. I'm seeing every single one of them, and they're absolutely magnificent and beautiful. And I'm going to change my body, and this is going to be the easiest thing I've ever done. And like, so it was. Like, I put that out there. I created the energy behind the movement I was trying to move my body into. And it was like, I remember people talking to me and being like, it's so hard. Like, how did you do it? And I was like, oh, it's actually easy. Like, I remember telling Devin, like, I can't even keep weight on if I tried. That's how easy it was. Cause like, I determined that it was going to be easy. Now, of course, like I was just checking the boxes. I was like hitting my steps. I was doing everything I needed to do. And I had put the phrase that it was going to be easy. So it just truly was. And that was amazing for me. I was so, I created that. And that was like, we're talking about manifesting cash and creating cash and energy flow, but like right there, those words unlocked the flow to make it easy for me. And I infused with the words, the energy. The other example I use, like why your words matter when you're asking the universe for something, or you're asking the cosmos, or you're asking God, or whoever you believe in, you're asking yourself. Also, I believe that like you are God and you are the universe. And so you can create anything you want with this like other power that so many people don't tap into. Okay. And so when you start to tap into this, let me rephrase. So when you start to tap into this, it is your life will get easier. Your life will turn into what you want it to, but you have to know what you want it to turn into for it to get easier or for it to get to be what you want it to be. And so a beautiful way to do that is through visualizing what you want that life to look like. Who do you want yourself to be next year? Do you want to be super fit, happy, calm, relaxed, have $1 million in the bank, have 3 kids? What do you want that to be? You need to start to visualize. You want to know what your bank account is going to look like? Then imagine the numbers on the bank account. If you take a blank check and just visualize the numbers on that check, it actually works. Your brain has to know what you want. Your body, your world, your universe, your God, your spirit, your whatever, your cosmos, they need to know what you want. And then also, once you have an idea of where you're going and what you want, then you can see where's the disconnect. For me, when I think about my future self, I'm like, okay, this level of Allison eats really good food. This level of Allison buys organic, meat, buys this kind of vegetable, works out in the morning, goes on walks, spends quality time with her children, vacations in France and Greece, and stays at really fancy places, does what she wants, goes to luxury hotels, has a house manager. Like you just start creating the idea of who you want to be. And then once we know, and that's mine, right? Like, and I'm not sharing all of it, but that's some of it. And so the idea is like, once you have that, then figure out what needs to happen for your shifts to get you closer to that identity. And I mentioned this before. My one shift is like that I'm manifesting as part of my visionary, who I am becoming, is like from a material perspective, is the car. It's a new car. I don't need a new car, but I would love it. It'll fit my vibe. And so, yeah, that's where we're going with that. So this is all the stuff I was teaching with and teaching about. We talked about abundance. We talked about gratitude. We talked about meditation. We talked about doing a vision board. And I actually shared my personal vision board from 2022. And it's just amazing how things have come to fruition. There is a picture of me from like an old figure competition that I had done. And maybe Isabel can split a picture in here of the vision board and maybe of the figure competition. And that was my mind. Like I don't really necessarily plan on doing a competition again, although maybe it's not out of the picture. I don't love how lean you have to get. And I really am just doing this for like health and like being as strong as possible. And I do like to see my muscles a little bit too. But it's just to be like ultra fit for life and for business. And all the rich people, billionaires that I want to emulate, they're lean fighting machines. They're cut for war, right? Like they are like, they're ready for it, right? And yeah, the battles might not be actually physical battles, but like the battles that you face in the day totally correlate, like how you can go through the hard in the gym and like show up every day and do hard things, like translate right into every aspect of your life and then bring more joy. So totally digress, but those were some of the exercises that I went in. So maybe we'll splice them into this podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see some of that. But it's cool to see. And I'm 100% not like a vision board girly, but when I was working with this coach, she like made me do it. And I remember I had to get my employees to be like, okay, how do I use Canva here? Can you drop in these pictures? I don't even know what I'm doing, right? And so, that was an effort because I am not very feminine when it comes to vision boarding. I know women love to vision board, but I'm like, I have a lot of masculine energy for that shit. So that was not my vibe, but I should probably do a new one just to like re-up my game. Because my identity has definitely shifted since then. So good reminder to probably get going on that. But in the nutshell, this is what I delivered. This was the speech. We talked a lot about, then we did a full-on exercise that I do in AF Wellness Coaching as well, that talks about just like being comfortable with seeing the numbers that you want, manifesting the numbers that you want every single month, and then what energy goes around with that, so that you kind of know what maybe actions you need to do or what energy you need to tap into during those times of during different seasons. So whether it's July and you are tapping into your vacation energy, or whether it's Christmas and you're tapping into your holiday energy, like it doesn't really matter. But it's cool to see how things line up for you every single year. One of the patterns that I always see is that, like, okay, I expand my office typically in like August, September, consistently make expansions during that time. And they tend to work out pretty well in my favor. And then I always hire in January. Like, regardless, we'll be onboarding a new employee in January, sometime around that time. And so it's just cool to know my patterns. And it helps you say yes to certain things. If you know, like, that's your pattern and it works out well for you, perfect. You don't have to hem and haw and be all stressed about it, because you already know that, like, your energy pattern, that's your energy pattern. So, anyways, that was what I spoke about. It's pretty wild. It's pretty out there. Obviously shared my stories and shared my personal events and growth that have happened through my life. And I just look at every single event as a positive event. You know, it doesn't matter how bad it is. If you can find the silver linings, you are already on a path to growing, a path to becoming more fulfilled, a path to living a better life. So I hope you gained something from this. Obviously, I am no energy expert. I don't claim to be, but I'm just sharing with you tools and that I've used through my journey that have helped me build my empire, that have helped me help all these women that, you know, I want to not just live in healthy bodies, but when they live in healthy bodies, they feel really good. They create really cool things. They become very prosperous and they feel freaking awesome. And the world is a better place. So it's a journey. That's why we added in AF Wellness Coaching. No idea where that business is going, but it's been sure fun as heck to just dabble with it. And we have our upcoming event in June 22nd. We're doing a sound bath at the clinic for all of our AF Wellness people that can come. So that's a ton of fun. But yeah, and maybe we'll put a link in the show notes here. If you are interested in joining AF Wellness Coaching, I want you to shoot me an email and just let me know, like, what interests you, and maybe we'll open up a spot for you. Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Dr. Allison Feldt, thank you so much for being here. Send this to your friends. Watch on YouTube, like and subscribe, listen on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast. Talk to you soon.